You know, this is one of those topics that no one really wants to think about, but if you're a parent, a homeowner, married, or helping take care of aging parents, it's something that honestly deserves a little attention. I'm talking about estate planning. And before you tune out thinking it's complicated or expensive, that's actually why I want to mention Trust and Will. Trust and Will makes estate planning feel way less intimidating than it sounds. They offer modern, attorney-designed wills and trusts that you can create online. And the process is surprisingly straightforward. In fact, you can create a will in as little as 30 minutes. That includes things like guardianship for your kids or pets, how your assets are distributed, and even healthcare directives. Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your loved ones with Trust and Will, the most trusted name in online estate planning. Go to trustandwill.com/future to get 20% off. That's trustandwill.com/future for 20% off. trustandwill.com/future.
Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, SportsWrap with Jason Page starts now.
And we welcome you to this Friday edition of the show. Sam Yarnell has the day off. We got a lot going on over the next 60 minutes. A full slate of guests joining us, including our friend Tino Patino, who covers NASCAR, SiriusXM NASCAR radio handicapper. Also get his thoughts on this week's race in Darlington. Denny Hamlin won last week. Could he win again this week? Picked up his 61st career win last week. Maybe he gets 62 this week. Robert Littal joins us every week on the show to break down some of the top stories of the week. Today will be no different. Get his thoughts on a whole slew of issues. That coming up a little later on in the show. Matter of fact, coming up about 10 minutes from now. Alan Snel will be here. First time he joins us on the show, lvsportsbiz.com. It has been a huge week in Las Vegas with the news that the NBA will be coming here in the 2028-2029 season. Also news out of Las Vegas involving the Raiders and Mark Davis. We'll get his thoughts on that and a whole host of other things when he joins us coming up a little later on in the show. But as we always do on this Friday and every day on the show, we kick things off with the big story. And the big story is the NCAA Tournament, and undoubtedly it is March. And that means the madness has ensued. And that means upsets and your brackets getting blown into pieces on day one. I hope they didn't. None of the number one seeds at least lost. You know, Duke tried. Boy, did Duke try. And the most telling thing that came out of that Duke game in their win against Siena was when you had a player at the half do one of those halftime interviews. And normally we always laugh because you get nothing out of players and coaches in these on-court, on-field interviews at halftime or at the end of a quarter where they're told, all right, you get two questions and there you go. You got something very interesting out of that halftime interview with the Duke player, whose name escapes me at the moment. It doesn't really matter. But basically coming out and saying, yeah, we sort of took it for granted. Yeah, we thought we were going to roll over Siena. Yeah, we didn't really understand the intensity. Yes, we were kind of succumbing to the pressure, like admitting that the pressure was getting to him. It was illuminating to hear a player so honest and so candid. I'm not sure John Shire was thrilled about it, but to hear a player basically come out and say, yeah, we sort of just were expecting to roll the balls out onto the court and win by 20. Well, it didn't happen that way. And Duke had to really respond in the second half. Can I just throw one thing in on this game, though? I don't want to bang on the former Syracuse Orange player, Gerry McNamara, who broke UConn's heart, and I was at like the 6 overtime game at Madison Square Garden at the Big East Tournament, 17, 18 years ago. But Gerry McNamara lost that game for Siena. There's no getting around it. You cannot ask your starters to play all 40 minutes and expect a different result than what you got yesterday, which was a Siena team that was just out of gas by the time you got to the final minutes of this game. You could say midway through that second half, they were done. They just didn't have the energy. And they got it. I think they got the lead back up to 6 with a couple of 3-pointers. And you were like, oh, but it was literally the patient's last gasping breaths before they flatlined. And that's what happened. They just ran out of steam. You have to find a way to get your guys a blow for just a couple of minutes. Just give them a rest for a couple of minutes. I know Duke's really good, and they might have, raised up the lead at that point or erased the deficit they had at that point. But you've got to get those guys off the court at that point for a couple of minutes if you're Gerry McNamara. I know people are going to tell me they've had injuries, and that's why they couldn't do it. You can't play all your guys 40 minutes and expect a different result than what you got in that game on Thursday. All right. Enjoy the tournament stuff. We'll continue covering it. Monday, we'll have a full recap of everything that took place that leads us to the Sweet 16. Big story number 2, if I may, for a moment. Luka Dončić doing Luka Dončić things. He's in a groove right now. He scored 100 points in the last 2 games, folks. He had 40 the other night against Houston, and then followed it up with a 60-burger on the Heat last night. And look, I mean, when he gets into this mode, when he gets into this Luka Dončić mode, it's really fun to watch. And that's what you've got right now. You've got Luka playing at an extremely high level, and he's even engaged a little bit on the offensive level. He had 5 steals last night. Luka Dončić, yes, that Luka Dončić that you see on your screen, had 5 steals last night on top of the 60 points and whatever many rebounds he had, 7-8 rebounds in the game. But I want to say something else here. And I know I'm arguing against myself because I just said a couple of weeks ago we can't have nice things, right? And I said I was going to try to do better. Well, it only lasted a few days because I talked about the Bam Adebayo outrage over his 83-point effort and the way it took place and the manner in which this game played out when he scored 83 points against the Wizards. But I can't help but say this. And again, I know it's not going to be a popular take. Last night's 60 from Luka was more impressive than the 83 from Bam. I dare you to challenge me on it. Go and look who Luka did it against. A Miami Heat team that will certainly be in the play-in tournament and could be a playoff team in this offseason. In this postseason will certainly be a playoff team and will be a dangerous playoff team because Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches on the planet. Then take into consideration the fact this was a close game. Look at the score. 3:54 left, fourth quarter. It's 114-110. This wasn't Luka just piling on a bad basketball team in a blowout game and guys intentionally fouling to get more possessions for the Lakers. That wasn't what was going on here. This was in the flow of a real basketball game, a real NBA game. He put up 60 in that flow. He put up nearly half their points. 3. He didn't have to go to the free throw line 43 times. I think he went like 19 times, something like that. 9 of 17 from 3. A terrific effort from Luka Dončić. So not all games are created equal. Bam Adebayo, congratulations. You have the highest point total of the season in the NBA and one of the highest point totals ever in an NBA game. You want to hold up your picture and hold up your 83 sign? Great. This game from Luka was the best game in the NBA this year. You want to throw Nikola Jokic at me and talk about what he did? You can go ahead and do that. I think he had a 50-point triple-double this year, which was really damn good. And I think we covered it here on the show. But Luka, for my money, that was the best game of the season in the NBA. You want to challenge me? Go ahead. You know where to find me. We're coming back. Robert Littal next. Welcome inside our SportsWrap studios in Las Vegas on this Friday edition of the show. Say hello to our good friend Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online. Joins us every single Friday on this show, almost without fail. We are appreciative of that. All right. Black Sports Online founder Robert Littal. Let's run through some of the big stories of the week. I texted you about this one last night because I was anxious to get your thoughts about it. And I'm not trying to be a jerk here. Our friend Kurt Heelan of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com I think he was mad at me last night for this take that Luka's, and I talked about this in the big story, that Luka's 60 was better than Bam's 83. It certainly was more entertaining. And if you look at all the metrics surrounding the game and what he did versus Bam's 83, I don't know how anybody could deny this was the best NBA game this season for a individual player with what he did. Maybe one of Jokic's games. I think he had a 50-point triple-double that he might have had earlier in the season. But to me, this was the best played, this was the best individual effort from a player this season. Better than Bam's for a lot of reasons. Go.
Well, we have to be honest. Several games this season was better than Bam's. This is a quality over quantity issue. Bam has the number, and the number is a high number. But, like you said, just because you have the highest number doesn't mean you have the highest quality.
Context matters. Context matters.
Yeah. So in this particular situation, especially with what's going on in the West currently and what the Lakers are doing right now, to have someone drop, 60 points in a game that, they need to win. They need to pretty much win every game to try to keep, that third seed. It was definitely more entertaining. It was more what I would like to call ethical basketball. It went down to the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It was a game that the Lakers did not have in hand. It wasn't a blowout. Every one of those points mattered. Every one of LeBron points mattered in getting that victory. And this is not to take away from Bam. He has the number. But in certain instances, the number does not make you the best. And he tried to get up on the podium last night and say, this is why 83. Trust me, if Luka or anybody, I think, with Luka type of skills, really wanted to push the envelope on a certain night, they could. They don't, because that's just not how ethical basketball works. This was an anomaly from Bam. This is something that happens once in 100 years for someone like him. He hasn't even sniffed 30 points since then. To me, eventually it'll just be an afterthought.
Luka now has jumped into the second best odds in the NBA to actually win the MVP. To piggyback off of something, again, in this exchange I was having with our friend Kurt last night that I don't think he'd mind me sharing. He thinks there's recency bias in that. Mm-hmm. Is it fair to be talking about Luka as an MVP candidate given the entire body of the season?
I think it's the same thing that happened, to Jokic is happening to SGA. Once you're so consistently good, and then your team is so consistently good, people kind of yawn. You had another 30-point game. Oklahoma City won by 30 points again. Whereas, look, it's hot. It's new. It's the new girl that just came into, late into the school year. That just came into the high school. And I think voters are like that. They're the media for the most part, and there's a sexiness to Luka, and there's this is someone different. We don't have to give it to the same person over and over again. And I think if they're able to hold on to that third seed, and they continue down this stretch, I guess the last 10 to 12 games, where, I think they're 9-1 in their last 10, something like that. And he continues to put up these numbers. I think he overtakes them at the end. Wow. I think it's like a horse race. I think he's coming up strong down the stretch.
Give me some thoughts on the WNBA getting their collective bargaining agreement done. Look, this thing really did go down to the last second, and they got a ton. There's no way. I don't know how anybody could look at this as a bad deal for the WNBA, where it is now, where it could be within a couple of years as revenues grow. It feels like the women of this league really scored.
Look, in a sense, pretty much every negotiation for a CBA works like this. It's, woe is me, we're going to strike. But then, when it really gets down to it, they sit in the room for, 3 days or whatever it is, and they get things done. And it seems like they're happy, with the deal. Every CBA is not the same. I always thought the NFL one was a terrible one that they signed. But, this one, it definitely seems, better. Pretty much every player in the WNBA is going to be a free agent coming up, so they're going to get the fruits of their labor immediately. I think what happens now after is also very important. I think they kind of blew, there's some opportunities with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Paige when they came in. There's another wave of young players that are coming in. How do they, handle that? I think one of the best things that could have happened at the moment was the FIBA thing where Angel and Kayla were on the same team, giving high fives, doing pick and rolls, trying to calm down some of that negative toxicness of the WNBA. So I think they're on a good, path. Let's just see if they can hold it now and enhance it, like you said, now that they have this behind them.
Can I get one opinion from you real quick on one aspect of this, though, the Shams part of it? That Shams broke the story when all these other people did the legwork, and then you bring in Shams to drop the story. From a journalism standpoint, as somebody who I know appreciates that aspect of the business, what did you think of Shams being one to break the story on ESPN while Alexa Philippou and all these other women who did the legwork for this were basically left out in the cold?
It's big bank take little bank. That's what, it didn't bother me as much, and I tell you why. That happened. Adam Schefter breaks stuff before, probably other people break, the story. It's part of the journalism just way. And I get it. And Shams was on TV at the time that it happened. So I don't blame him. I understand how it works. It sucks. It has happened to all of us before. But I will say the individuals that were there, I saw them a lot after, talking about the deal and breaking down the deal. I think this is one of the problems with the WNBA, I'll be honest with you, is that they find a lot of things to nitpick and be upset about. You just had a great CBA, right? You had a great situation. Everybody should be happy. And you're taking your times to be trying to take shots, at Shams. It seems to me that's one of the things that shoot them in the foot. Let's think of the positives and not stuff that really doesn't matter, like who broke the story first.
I almost wonder if it was foisted onto Shams, that it wasn't him, that it wasn't his decision to do it. That's sort of the impression I get.
Yeah, he has to. No offense to the people that camped out, they don't have the same reach as him.
They don't have the gravitas.
Does the WNBA want the reach or not?
Welcome back to the show. Robert Littal hangs out with us every Friday, the founder of Black Sports Online. Talk some hoops. We'll get some more hoops in here as well. But I didn't get to talk to you much about the World Baseball Classic, so I'm anxious to get your perspective now that, the postmortem, the autopsy on this is done after a few days. Players are getting ready for the start of the season. You're starting to hear players react to what their experience was like. Bryce Harper saying it was great for baseball. Paul Skeens disappointed they didn't get across the finish line. Tariq Skubal, who knows what he thinks. I'm anxious to sort of get your take on what these last few weeks meant for baseball, USA baseball, and baseball as a whole.
Well, I think it's great for baseball as a whole. I think I thought when Aaron Judge said that he felt the crowd and the energy was bigger than the World Series, I agreed with that. Just from watching, at home, it felt like, a different type of energy there. So I think for, the general fan in all these other countries, it's an awesome thing. America, at times, does things that, you kind of shake your head with. And, was it karma? Boys not shaking hands and things like that. They're throwing the silver medals, and things like that. But I think it tells you, sports is the type of thing where you would like to feel that everybody has a chance. That's why we like March Madness so much. I know we're going to talk about that in a second. So that everybody has a chance. And so, to me, it's cool when a country like Venezuela, they don't have all of the stars that America have, but pitching overrides everything in baseball. And to see them win and to see how much it meant to them as a country, I thought that was, very cool. I don't take these things as seriously as some other people. I don't think it means anything bad for USA baseball. I'm not going to tear down Aaron Judge for, not playing well. In the end, it's an exhibition more or less. It's not, it is not the World, Series, where they're getting paid millions of dollars, for. But I thought for baseball as a brand, ever since they've really promoted it lately, every year, I think it's almost World Cup-ish for baseball, and that's an amazing thing.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. Do you think though? Do you buy into the argument of the rest of the world taking it more seriously than we do in the U.S.?
No, not at all. I mean, I watched the games. I mean, the U.S. wanted to win because we like to show how dominant we are over other countries. It's one of our, it's in our DNA that we are America, and Americans are better than everybody else. That's just how we feel, as a country. So it's an ego thing, I think, for us. So losing to little bitty Venezuela down there on in the islands and the countries and stuff like that. Oh yeah, that stung a bit. So no, I disagree with that. I think it maybe for different reasons. But definitely we want to win. To them, I think it was like the Olympics. They wanted to show that we are the best country. And of course, they took it seriously. They wouldn't even do handshakes. They wouldn't even talk to their teammates, from the team. So they were taking it very, very, maybe too seriously, and maybe that's why they lost.
Could be. Thoughts on the NCAA tournament? I said this yesterday on the show, and I'm curious to get your take on it. Everybody likes to portray this as we're all trying to win. Why not us? 68 teams, get into this field, and anybody could win. It's amazing. But the reality is, I think every team, has its sort of own individual story and motivation in these tournaments. Miami of Ohio is a wonderful story. Are they winning the NCAA tournament? No, they're not. But I think they have a chip on their shoulder, and you're going to see them continue to sort of play that way. You saw it against SMU. A 16 seed is just trying to get attention for their school, maybe some of their players. Yes, there are the blue bloods and 12 to 14 teams that might be in this tournament trying to win it this year that can legitimately win it this year. But I think sometimes we lose sight of the fact that it is the stories that really drive this tournament. Yes, the Cinderella moments are great, but the stories are what really drive this tournament, almost in an Olympic-like way.
Yeah, the best part of the March Madness is the first weekend, really, the first week, this week, to get to the Sweet 16, because that is when you have the most upsets and the most. And I think the cool thing about March Madness is you haven't had to watch a lick of basketball, college basketball all year. You can flick on your TV and be like, I don't even know where High Point University is at, but they're my favorite team now. I love High Point University. Like you said, they're probably not going to make it to the Final Four, but you're definitely interested to see how far, they can take it. That's why I always say these are the Siena. They didn't beat Duke, but you was wondering for a second if that was going to happen. That's why I think the first, week is really what is the stories and stuff. And then as we get into the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, that's when the Blue Bloods, kind of take over.
I said this in the big story. Gerry McNamara cost his team that game. You cannot play your star. You cannot play your starters for 40 minutes. Yeah. You can't do that. I mean, everybody watching that game could see those guys were getting gassed midway through the second half. Get them a blow. Get them a few minutes. Buy a few minutes.
It reminded me of an underdog boxer coming off to a fast start against, a guy that's bigger and stronger than him. And he's just trying to survive to the 12th round. And you can just see round by round. It was Meldrick Taylor, trying to hang on against Julio Cesar Chavez and just could not, hang on to the last minute. But, I hate Duke with a passion. It's one of one of the things in life that I get joy out of is watching Duke suffer. So even to see them sweat a little bit gave me a little joy on a Thursday.
Yeah, and VCU beating North Carolina was certainly, worthy of conversation as well. And
good games too.
Yeah, fantastic games as always. Real quick before I let you go, a couple of quick hitters. Dennis Rodman into the WWE Hall of Fame. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's the WWE, so he fits right in with that. He's more of a WCW guy, but they took him over. But when I think of Rodman and wrestling, I think of him and the NWO and him going to the WCW while the Bulls were actually playing. So it's even though the WCW was absorbed by the WWE, that's where that was a big deal in the 90s. For people that don't know, who may be too young, he was playing basketball and hanging out with Hulk Hogan and beating up Sting, in the same weekends. I mean, this was a big deal back then for our young brains.
Yeah, it really was. It's kind of wild to think about, And now you see,
imagine that?
And now you see
Draymond Green.
Yes. Yes, and now you see a lot of athletes sort of intermingling. Jalen Brunson, and Tyrese Halliburton, and Dennis Rodman was the first guy to kind of do that. Karl Malone did it too.
Yeah, like Miss, it's called. Yeah, I don't like to speak on him, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's. I always say everything is WWE. If you go back to it, everybody, wrestling is ingrained in our society, not just from a standpoint of us watching, just by now how things, work in sports. A lot of the times feel like wrestling. Yeah. Feels like it's scripted.
Certainly does. Our politics is there as well. Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online. Hey, try to avoid those high gas prices out there in California. I'll talk to you soon.
I just walk.
This is one of those topics that no one really wants to think about, but if you're a parent, a homeowner, married, or helping take care of aging parents, it's something that honestly deserves a little attention. I'm talking about estate planning. And before you tune out thinking it's complicated or expensive, that's actually why I want to mention Trust and Will. Trust and Will makes estate planning feel way less intimidating than it sounds. They offer modern, attorney-designed wills and trusts that you can create online. And the process is surprisingly straightforward. In fact, you can create a will in as little as 30 minutes. That includes things like guardianship for your kids or pets, how your assets are distributed, and even healthcare directives. Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your loved ones with Trust and Will, the most trusted name in online estate planning. Go to trustandwill.com/future to get 20% off. That's trustandwill.com/future for 20% off. trustandwill.com/future.
Welcome back to the show. Big week for Las Vegas. The news coming down from the NBA that there will be expansion coming to the league in the 28-29 season. And Las Vegas and Seattle are thought to be the two teams that will be getting franchises. And it's been talked about for a while with Las Vegas. And this city is about to become really one of the sports meccas. It's already the entertainment capital of the world. I've only lived here about a year and a half, and I could see that. This guy's been here a little longer than me. Alan Snel hangs out with us on the show. lvsportsbiz.com for anything going on in the sports business world, the sports world at large here in Las Vegas. Really one of the great people to talk to, and thrilled to have him on the show today. So how surprising was it, given the fact that there had been talk about, the NBA sort of dragging its feet on expansion, that this news came out this week that, boom, Las Vegas is getting a team, and we're basically, 2.5 years away from them tipping off.
Yeah, it was just a matter of time, Jason. I mean, this is something, the seed of this has been planted for a while. What's interesting is that years ago, MGM Resorts International became a title sponsor of the NBA Summer League. Their former CEO, Jim Murin, was always chit-chatting with Adam Silver. So the seed of this has been planted for a while, and really it's been a matter of just when the NBA wanted to pull the trigger on this in terms of deciding the timing. And I think Seattle was kind of a good pairing since both will be in the West. And the NBA has carefully looked at this. They wanted to see how this market would respond with the Raiders joining the Golden Knights in this market in 2020. So they've had like a 5 or 6 year period to analyze the market. What's interesting is that the Major League Baseball A's are supposed to open up their stadium in 2028. So that would be 3 quote unquote major league sport teams in this market. This would be the smallest market with 3 major league teams. And like you mentioned, you throw in a 4th major league team, NBA, that is supposedly starting in 2028-29 season. You're going to have all 4 major league teams planted in this market, by far the smallest market to have all 4 major league teams. And then you throw in the WNBA Aces as well.
Yeah. Can I throw you a little bit of a curveball here and ask this? Would the MLS ever wind up here?
Interesting question. I'm hearing a little scutterbutt talk behind the scenes that, and in fact, I'm giving you the scoop. I haven't even reported this, Jason, but I've heard some scutterbutt behind the scenes that There's some people looking at a potential stadium site because, as you know, these leagues are driven not so much by these dreams, but they're driven by the practical notion of having a modern stadium. It's the sports venues that drive everything. You saw it with T-Mobile Arena, with the Golden Knights, obviously the Raiders Stadium, and the A's are here because they also got a subsidized deal for their stadium. So behind the scenes, it's funny you mentioned that. I haven't even reported it, but MLS has been sniffing around that. They're not necessarily new. Their commissioner has come to Las Vegas in the past, and for a while there were two developer investors. I think one was a part owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, who was kind of sniffing around, looking at the time. What's interesting is Bill Foley, the owner of the Golden Knights, and his crew did look at MLS. There was the notion of maybe taking the Las Vegas lights, and there was a proposal to maybe redo that downtown stadium site, but that never got off the ground. That got completely sidetracked by the COVID pandemic of 2020. So MLS is in the picture. Nothing, concrete, but yes, Jason, to your point, MLS is definitely sniffing around for sure.
Feels like a market that would support it as well. Jose Bautista owns the Las Vegas Lights, former Toronto Blue Jay. I actually went and checked out one of their games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They will need a new home soon. The city of Las Vegas has a deal with a housing developer to redo that site. So Joey Bats needs a new home soon.
So you talk about the arena situation, stadiums, and all of that. Is there any idea of where this Las Vegas NBA team would play? Like, will there be an arena ready by the time they get here in 28? Would they have to play at T-Mobile temporarily?
Well, definitely T-Mobile Arena will host the NBA team. Bill Foley has already gone on record that he wants to spend $300 million on updating the venue.
Oh, wow.
If you've been inside the building, I've seen a lot of sports venues around the country. I'm a big fan of T-Mobile Arena. I think it has the kind of interior spatial kind of feel that is kind of built toward kind of a human scale. I just like the openness. I like the sight lines. They've already been hosting the NBA Cup, this in-tournament cup for the last 2-3 years. So they're used to NBA crowds and NBA basketball teams. And my money is on Foley and T-Mobile Arena hosting the basketball team. I got news for you, Jason. I would not be surprised if that's the permanent home.
Alan Snel does a terrific job covering sports business in Las Vegas. Go check out lvsportsbiz.com for everything that's going on in this amazing city where everything is growing so quickly. Alan, appreciate you. Thanks for coming on with us today. Let's talk again soon.
You bet. Thanks so much, Jason.
Welcome back. Odds and Ends wraps it up 10 minutes from now. Mondays and Fridays on the show, we talk NASCAR. We recap the races on Monday. We preview them on Friday, which means it's a NASCAR Friday, and Tino Patino is here. SiriusXM NASCAR Radio Betting Insider. Catch him on Tubi on the weekends as well. What's the name of your podcast? I apologize. I never mentioned the podcast.
No worries. Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. It's The Draft. My guy Ryan, he runs a cool wintherace.info site, gives us all the simulations we need to build out our track comparisons for the drivers. Still Easton on there as well. So those two guys. All
right. I want to make sure we got that in. You come on with us. We like to promote the things that you're doing out there to cover the sport of NASCAR. All right. Denny Hamlin, your winner. I mean, look, we're talking about a future Hall of Famer, 61st win, an amazing career that this guy has had, a tragic offseason for him. Obviously, everybody knows what took place. This win obviously meant a lot to him in Las Vegas last week, Tina.
Definitely. And this is something to where you continue to see a driver with his age just outperform that sort of dynamic, if you will, because when we've seen older drivers or older athletes in general, they normally have some fall off. But Denny Hamlin just keeps on getting better, aging like fine wine, if you want to throw it out there like that. And it seems like he could get to 70 wins. Will he? He doesn't think so, because there's only, we believe, 1 to 2 years left for him and before he retires. So there may be the number 67 around there, 68, but there could be a possibility to where I'm just throwing this out there as something that's going on in my brain. He finishes his contract out with JGR this next couple of years. Maybe he rides for his own team in 23-11, gets to 70 wins, calls it a career. I don't know, but either way, it'd be great to see him continue the success he's having right now.
Could you imagine him racing part-time?
No, I can't imagine, because I think when Denny Hamlin does something much like MJ, he's got to be all in, doing it, every type of practice and sim and going to the racetrack, the weekends, the way he has it. I know he does things a very meticulous way, and I think that's what makes him the great athlete he is.
All right, so let's talk about, he won this race last year in Darlington, the Goodyear 400. So give me some thoughts as you sort of look ahead to this year's race in Darlington. Always a lot of fun out there at that raceway. So give me some thoughts on the Goodyear 400. And I mean, could we be talking about Denny Hamlin winning back-to-back weeks here?
We definitely can be. The reason why, and I'll get back to Denny Hamlin specifically in 1 second, but this track is what they call too tough to tame. That's its nickname. It's a very difficult racetrack. The veterans of NASCAR normally step up to the plate. The cream rises to the top, if you will, because you need to hit every mark. You cannot be slow on pit road. You cannot be going into the corner too fast, or you're going to get a Darlington stripe. Going off of what normally is the case there at Darlington, this season, we may see the hardest race to run all year this weekend at Darlington. They're running the short track package at this track, which is an intermediate style of racetrack. But the reason they are doing this is for higher horsepower, which then results in an increase of tire fall off. So we normally see typical long green flag runs at this track. What this will make is probably shorter green flag runs because of the longer fall off and quicker tire wear we'll see out of those drivers and cars. But specifically with the cars, who can manage a loose race car? Who can manage a car that's seemingly out of control?
But I was going to say, does that almost sounds dangerous?
It may sound that way, but these drivers are prepared for this task. It sounds dangerous, and it should, because race car driving is dangerous. They're going 200 miles an hour with all these factors. I wouldn't necessarily say it is dangerous from a driver's safety standpoint, but for the tires, if you wear them out too much, they will blow, they will wear, and drivers will wreck. So from that standpoint, you need to be safe. You need to manage and conserve your stuff. And when I say all these things, along with going to Darlington, where Denny Hamlin himself has a 74% hit rate inside the top 10 in his career, which is the most out of any driver ever, I do think he's going to go back-to-back this weekend. Plus 550 to do so. Everything's coming together. I also want to mention, when you rip the high line at Darlington, that's how you can create the most speed, but also save the most tires. So we're going to really be a factor this weekend.
I mean, we've seen NASCAR races. God, I think we saw one last year where NASCAR jumped in and said, all right, we're giving you more tires because the tire wear was so bad. Can you envision a scenario like that playing out here?
I can, and I hope that they don't do that, so it puts even more strategy into the team's hands, right? Okay, you need to conserve to a certain point so that NASCAR doesn't give them sort of that luxury of more tires, because we've seen in other series and other sports where you get a certain amount and that's it. Well, obviously, if it is a factor of safety and it is where teams all run out, they will provide that.
All right.
And we see, like you mentioned, we've seen that in the past too.
Yeah. All right. So Denny Hamlin is the favorite to win it at 5-1 over on FanDuel anyway. Tyler Reddick at 6-1 along with Kyle Larson and Chase Briscoe. William Byron at plus 750. Christopher Bell at plus 850. Where are you looking for both value and just who you think wins?
I think Denny Hamlin wins this week. If it wasn't him, I'm sticking in the Toyota camp. Tyler Reddick, who we know has been very strong. Those are two drivers that rip the high line better than anyone else. For a value play to win this race, Chris Buescher right now is 33-1. And I think he goes out and does it, if not those other drivers I mentioned. He was very close a few years back. But aside from that, when we talk about managing your stuff, long green flag runs, if that comes the case, especially a track that's hard to drive, he's one of the best drivers in doing all of those things. And RFK, those Fords, normally come out strong at Darlington themselves. Another driver I do want to bring up for maybe a top 10 play. He's done it 6 in the last 7 Darlington races. That's Bubba Wallace right now, who's plus money for a top 10.
Yeah, and look, he's off to a good start this season despite the fact that he hasn't won a race yet. Tino Patino, check him out this weekend, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. All things NASCAR handicapping, also on Tubi. Appreciate you, my friend. Have a great week. Enjoy the race this weekend. Chris Buescher. I'm putting in a slip on Chris Buescher.
Nice, thank you.
Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Friday. A few reminders for you. Sports Wrap with Jason Page weekends. We have a 30-minute show that airs on weekends. If it's not on this station, check around on the programming guide. It is likely to be on another station within your market. 30 minutes, Saturdays, Sundays, depending on what day your station airs it. 30 minutes recapping everything we talked about during the week. Sometimes we have bonus content on there that we can't get to during the weekday show. Go and check it out, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page Weekend Edition. Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the podcast. If you have not done so yet, subscribe. The audio version of this show, Monday through Friday, available wherever you get your podcasts. 45 minutes, limited commercials, great content. All the guests that we have on during the show, you can get it there. Also, companion podcasts available when you subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel is the place for all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the Monday through Friday TV version of the show. The Sports Wrap Spotlight. Whoever our guest is, we get them on, and then we put it into the Sports Wrap Spotlight, which is sometimes extended beyond what we have time for television because we only get an hour on TV Monday through Friday. We've got to put the rest of the content somewhere. Our YouTube channel is where you can get that bonus content. Sports Wrap Spotlights, Sports Wrap NBA Weekly is there with our friend Kurt Heelan. You'll want to go and check all of that out. Again, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Also, Sports Wrap Shorts, news breaks. We can't possibly just jump on your TV and break it. So where do we do it? On the YouTube channel. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel is Sports Wrap Shorts. When news breaks, big game moments happen, we're there. Sports Wrap Shorts also available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram, you guessed it, Sports Wrap Jason Page. And now without any further delay, on this Friday edition of the show, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, woo, rough weekend for Iga Swiatek, who is not going to be taking part in this year's event in Miami. She's out in the first round. First time in like 73 matches, something like that, that Swiatek has lost in the opening round of a tournament. She falls to the world's number 50, Magda Linette, at the Miami Open. And Swiatek right now says she's living in a nightmare. By the way, that streak goes back to 2021. She had won every first-round match going back to 2021. After dropping the first set 1-6, or rather, I should say, yeah, after winning the first set 6-1, she loses the next 2 sets and says right now the game feels complicated in her head. Let's hope she can get it together, obviously. Whether you're a fan or not a fan, it's never fun to hear athletes talk about those sorts of mental struggles. Odds and ends. It's the end of sanity when it comes to baseball cards. And I say this as a collector. If we had a way to pan the camera right now down to my floor on the left where I sit, you'd actually see tons of baseball cards. Loose cards on top of boxes. Basketball, football, baseball, you name it. I have all of them. I've been collecting for a long, long time. But even at some point, you've got to start looking at some of the outrageous prices being paid for various cards that are being manufactured around the industry and start to wonder, where's the ceiling on this? You know, it's sort of like the NFL. If you wait a day, there'll be a new highest paid player at a certain position. Well, if you wait around a day or two in baseball cards or sports cards in general, you'll find that somebody's got, you know, the new highest valued card or the most money ever paid for a card in the modern era. The one we're talking about is on the screen there. A 2025 Topps Chrome Dual MVP Gold Logo Man card. I got all that out. With game-worn patches from Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani jerseys. It's a one-of-one, of course. Signed on card by both of the MVPs. Has sold via Fanatics Collect for, wait for this, $2.16 million. I gotta tell you, if Jesus came down from the heavens, I'm an agnostic, but I'll just for the fun of this exercise. If Jesus came floating down from the heavens and decided to sign a baseball card with his picture on, I'm not paying $2.16 million for it, folks. I got news for you. Not doing it. And why somebody does it, I will never understand. The card stems from a collaboration between Topps, MLB, and Nike. Dan Hejducky, by the way, did a great job reporting on this for ESPN, so I want to give him credit for doing so. It's just nuts. Where does it stop in this industry? You know? I don't know. We'll have to get King Golden on the show one of these days. Does a great job in the card collecting space. We've had him on the show before. It's just staggering to me that kind of money is being paid for a card. Be great if you were the one that pulled it, though, right? I'd gladly sell. If I pulled it accidentally, you know, just by luck, happenstance, I'd sell it for $2.16 million. What are you going to keep it? What am I going to do with it? I cover this stuff for a living. I've interviewed athletes. It just doesn't matter to me. We're out of time. Thanks to all of our guests on the show today. Alan Snel, great debut for him on the show. Tino Patino talking NASCAR. Robert Littal talking everything. Sam Yardell returns on Monday, as will we. We'll have a full recap of all the action in the NCAA Tournament, see who's in the Sweet 16. Bill Bender will be here on Monday as well. I'm Jason Page. Thanks for being with us. We'll catch you back here next week or this weekend for SportsWrap Weekend Edition. Bye-bye.